Thank you, everyone, for being with us today. In a special way today, we are honoring and thanking Father Eduardo for his time with us, and we're sending him off with our blessing as he begins this week his new responsibilities at St. George in Framingham. If you're not running off, I hope you'll stay with us outside after Mass for a little reception, honoring and thanking him with some cake and donuts and all of those good things. So I'm sad that our time together is coming to an end, not because you have the best roommate who cooks wonderful food that I've shared for, but also because you're a great person. And I would think one thing I would just lift up about you for all of our edification is that not a day goes by where I do not see him make multiple visits to the chapel that we have in our rectory. And that is the real source of everything. So I thank you for your commitment and your example and your friendship to me. So. I am already looking forward to a weekly invitation to join you for dinner, though, if I'm being honest. We always strive to give a warm welcome. Today's welcome is a little warmer than usual because I don't think the AC is at full strength. I don't know. Very good. Next weekend, our nation will celebrate its semi-quincentennial or 250th anniversary. Semi-quincentennial, I learned, it's quincentennial means 500 and semi means half, so half of 500 is 250. And this is because on July 4th, 1776, the Declaration of Independence was formally adopted by the Continental Congress. So to kick things off, let's do some trivia. First question. When did the Continental Congress declare independence from England? Well, show of hands. We'll show take hand. I'd love to. Okay, all the way in the back. July 1st? 4th? No, wrong. Okay. Okay, over here. Wrong. I'll read this again. When did the Continental Congress declare independence from England? Hint, it's not the 4th of July. Okay. It's all downhill from here. Okay. So it's July 2nd is when they approved the resolution. The declaration was approved a few days later. They got that yesterday. Okay, second question. How many people signed the Declaration of Independence? Oh, we got a hand in the back. Very close. According to my math, it is 56, but I'll give you credit for that. How many Catholics signed the Declaration of Independence? Oh, we got a hand way up right here. One. Very good. Okay, what was his name? Close. We'll get to John Carroll in a second. It was Charles Carroll of Carrollton, Maryland. Does anyone know who John Carroll was? John Carroll was the first bishop of Baltimore, the Diocese of Baltimore, which was the first diocese that covered the entire United States. So back to Charles Carroll. Not only was the only Catholic who signed the Declaration of Independence, he was also the last living signer of the Declaration of Independence. He lived until age 96. Is that his picture up there? I could have given that as a hint. Anyhow, I love this quote from him from before he died. This is what he said. I have lived my 96th year. I have enjoyed continued health. I have been blessed with great wealth, prosperity, and most of the good things which the world can bestow. Public approbation, esteem, applause. But what I look back on now with greatest satisfaction to myself is that I have practiced the duties of my religion. But what I look back on now with greatest satisfaction to myself is that I have practiced the duties of my religion. Charles Carroll lived during a time of rampant anti-Catholic discrimination, but even against the odds, he lived his faith, and then living his faith enriched his patriotism. To mark the 250th anniversary of our nation's founding, this homily is the first in a three-part series called Pro Deo et Patria, for God and country. Incidentally, Pro Deo et Patria is the motto of the United States Army Chaplain Corps, but we'll talk more about that in week 3, so come back. Pro Deo et Patria is a reminder that the best citizens are faithful citizens. And when we're not anchored in faith, it's too easy for us to get caught up in personalities, partisanship, the latest news cycle, or what's trending on social media. When we are anchored in faith, it's easy for us to see that we are called to live for more than ourselves. Sometimes this means proclaiming truths such as the infinite worth and dignity of every human person from conception to natural death, and that we all have a shared responsibility for the common good. Other times, it means that we have to sacrifice. I think especially of the sacrifices, those who paid the ultimate sacrifice in our country's armed forces. But I also think of everyone who in their own way lives the challenge that JFK gave in his inaugural address. Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. And ultimately, I'd say that that is the lived definition of patriotism. But let me be clear. There is a world of difference between patriotism and nationalism. Patriotism is the sacrificial love for one's own country. We love our country first because it's our own. Nationalism, on the other hand, leads us to look on other peoples and nations with indifference and scorn. And when our hearts close in this way, it is sin. I hope you can catch this distinction in the song that we'll sing at the offertory time. It's called "This Is My Song." I'll share a bit of it with you. Incidentally, I was at karaoke a week or two ago, and I found out because I started to sing a song and I didn't know the words, so I'm just going to read them. Here it goes. This is my song, O God of all the nations, a song of peace for lands afar and mine. This is my home, the country where my heart is. Here are my hopes, my dreams, my holy shrine. But other hearts in other lands are beating with hopes and dreams as true and high as mine. In today's gospel, Jesus teaches his apostles and us. His words are timeless. They are as relevant to us in Sudbury, Maynard, and surrounding communities as they were when he first spoke them in Palestine 2,000 years ago. Jesus begins, "Whoever loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. And whoever loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me." At first, you might think that Jesus is trying to get between you and your most intimate relationships. But really, Jesus is teaching us about the priority of love. God first, others second, and ourselves last. When we get the love of God right, we are better positioned then to love our parents, our spouses, our children, and everyone else. And when we don't get the love of God right, we don't put God first, there are many negative downstream effects. And those, I would say, are the source of many of the problems that we face in our nation, like political dysfunction, the erosion of family life, the rising cost of living, the decline in morals, and the list could go on. We have to be Catholics who love God before we can be Americans who love our country. Loving God first and loving God best makes our other loves stronger, because it is the only foundation that can bear the weight of all the challenges we face in life. Jesus continues, "And whoever does not take up his cross and follow after me is not worthy of me." We mentioned sacrifice already, but consider this. Many of the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence paid a heavy price for their patriotism. Maybe you've heard this list before. 5 were captured and tortured. 12 had their homes ransacked and burned. 2 lost their sons. And 9 died from wounds or hardships of the Revolutionary War. While Charles Carroll did not suffer these fates, he knew that the act of simply signing the Declaration of Independence would put a target on his back. Similarly, I think of one of the kids I knew from Plymouth when I was growing up who joined the Army, Specialist Stephen Gutowski. He was killed in action in Afghanistan by a roadside bomb. I remember struggling to make sense of his death when I went to his wake in 2011, and I was talking about this with my father, and this is what my father told me. He said, "Gerald, Stephen died for something bigger than himself, and that means everything." In another place in the gospel, Jesus says, "No greater love hath one than this, than to lay down one's life for one's friends." Sacrifices like this one remind us that our lives belong to God and not to ourselves. And that's really the root of patriotism. Not selfishly loving, but sacrificially loving our country. So, as we approach the 4th of July, may we live for God. Pro Deo et Patria, for God and country.